So my question is, I have a couple of questions around that. So for Iubenda,
Right.
I have typically been using Termageddon privacy policy,
Right.
but I can use Iubenda for both privacy and cookie. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't need to have a Termageddon privacy.
Nope.
I can have Iubenda.
Nope.
Then the next question is, so I set up Iubenda and I'm not sure I have it set right.
Okay.
Because is there something on there that, because I think you said you have Iubenda on your website. So on mine, when I go there, even if I accept it, it has a little Iubenda thing in the bottom, even though I say white label. So I'm thinking that I need to say, is it only show it in the states and countries?
That's what I do. And that's one of the features in my mind.
So that is, I think I don't know where that feature is, because that's what, because like, for example, me here in Georgia, we don't have all that nonsense. So, and I always at the bottom of my website have a link to privacy and cookie. That way, if they want them, they're there for everybody to see. And I want the pop-up to only come up on places it's required to come up on.
Yep. Yep.
So I think that's the setting I'm missing.
Right. That's the setting that I recommend, because I find that, first of all, why make it an issue to people who don't need it to be an issue?
Yes.
Second of all, it's just confusing. Like, what? I'm visiting this website, and once, if you're uninformed, it sounds scarier than it needs to be. Mm-hmm. Because people just don't understand that's how the web works.
Exactly.
And you're making an issue where it doesn't need to be. Also, like, for years I've surfed the web and I understand analytics and I understand that's the price I pay for a free web. Yeah. But now that I'm giving an option, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Right. Even though it doesn't really affect me or hurt me in any way. Mm-hmm. It could, I guess, but yeah. So that's why I like Iubenda. Okay. A couple things was set up. So first of all, you need to, on a regular basis, do a little audit of your website to make sure Iubenda is disclosing all the things that it needs to disclose. While you're setting up Iubenda, it lists all the possible things. Yeah. That is a very comprehensive list.
It is, and that freaked me out because I'm like, huh?
For instance, with GDPR,
mm-hmm.
if you have, let's say you, so here's a really good example. When someone submits a form from my website, it goes to my email address. That email is on Google Workspace, so I need to disclose Google Workspace on my Iubenda. Okay. Second of all, that email automatically goes to my Trello card, a Trello board that's prospects. So I have to disclose Trello on that. Even though I'm not using Trello on my website, that's where the data is going.
Okay.
So if you are, for instance, let's say you've set up a thing where you've used Zapier, got to disclose it, sending an email form to a Google Sheet, you'd have to disclose Zapier and Google Sheets. Because GDPR.
Is there a way to just like say everything? I have everything.
No, well, you don't. You don't have everything.
Well,
you don't have all these ad services.
Well, okay.
But see, this is the real challenge here, right? And that's why every 6 months or so, you need to go through and just make sure, for instance, like I'll turn on and off ad roll, or I, looked in my tag manager and realized I was still serving up a LinkedIn cookie.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make sure. Now, Iubenda will send you emails when it discovers a tool that you're not disclosing.
Okay.
And WordPress has a lot of things too. So if you're using Jetpack, you're automatically using WordPress analytics and you need to disclose that. If you're allowing people to log in using the WordPress.org email address to log into the WordPress, you have to disclose that. If you have some Facebook sharing buttons, you have to disclose that because Facebook is getting data from your website.
Yeah. So, if like, let's say I have something like you were saying, you had to go on in there and do like LinkedIn. Well, but then like, let's say later you take off or disable that LinkedIn or what, let's just say you're then required to take that off of your cookie, or can it still stay on there even though you don't have it? I mean, like,
you need to disclose all the things that you are currently using in your privacy policy. It needs to explicitly state, I use ActiveCampaign, Trello, Google Docs, Google Workspace, WordPress, Gravity Forms. You have to disclose all that if you're going to comply with GDPR.
Okay. So
that's the operative word there.
Okay.
If you're going to comply with GDPR.
Comply with GDPR. Okay, yes. So you have to disclose those, but when you take them off, are you required to take off that you're no longer using them? I mean, like, can you still have it on there?
You cannot actively maintain your privacy policy. It says it, for instance, it might say you have a LinkedIn cookie, but you're not using it, and you don't really have it on there. It's better to have more on your thing than not.
Than less. Okay.
But if you literally said select all and Iubenda,
using everything.
Well, no, that would be thousands and thousands of cookies.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
So you don't want to do that because you're
better to. You can't do everything because there's so many, but you're better to over disclose than under disclose. It
is, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and some of them are a little tricky, like Google. Google Analytics.
Well, that's the thing. I got in there and I'm like, I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Your website uses a Google font. Guess what? Google's tracking it. But the Iubenda tool will scan your website and tell you what it finds.
Okay. Okay. So I need to work
just
on
use the scanner and then go through and say, okay, where does an email address from a form go? Do I store it on an Excel sheet on my drive? Do I store it in Office 365? Do I store
like if I store in Dropbox, I would have to then say put Dropbox. So
because
I guess
GDPR has a right to be forgotten.
Yeah.
And so you need to disclose where the data is stored in your privacy policy for GDPR compliance. So someone says, I understand that my email address might end up on Dropbox if I visit this website or fill out a form.
Okay.
And that's what it's there for. It's to be full disclosure so people know, hey, I put your stuff in my Dropbox.
Okay.
And because Dropbox gets hacked all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right, I need to work on that because I mean, I was sitting there, I'm just like, I don't know. And I guess this is how do website developers know this? Like for Tim and Lavanya, if y'all are setting up, the privacy policy and you have a form on the site, you don't know where that stuff goes.
Well, it's the client's responsibility.
Yeah.
But they don't know. Like, they don't know that all
clients respond. I didn't know what the speed limit was, officer. I was going 65 and a 20.
Okay.
You're still disobeying the law.
Okay.
Ignorance is no excuse for disobeying the law. You are required.
I know that.
So it's not easy. It's really crappy for small businesses.
Yeah.
But the operative word is if you're going to comply with GDPR.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer.
Yes. Okay.
But if you're going to comply to GDPR, you have to do this. If you are not going to comply to GDPR.
Yeah. And my understanding is that means like
the necessity to apply or comply is if you're actively marketing your services in the European Union, right?
Well,
It's
but
if
they're
you
not
have traffic from the
from
European.
there. I guess the other thing though is that mainly we're talking about GDPR, but you know, all these other states have these other, but are they like California and a couple other states
Just
have other
California at
laws.
this point,
Okay.
from my understanding.
So is that, so like what Tim was saying, like, let's just say, you know, GDPR, let's just say Europe, but now like California has their thing. So
In
does that
Brazil.
mean like now it's if you get traffic also from anyone in California, you have, then if you're going to be GDPR, it's like GDPR in California compliant.
And they're very different rules. With California, you have to
they're
disclose
not the same.
cookies. GDPR doesn't necessarily relate to that. GDPR has to do with how you handle the data. That's why I like Iubenda's only show it to people who need it. There is a flaw, however, in that.
Mm-hmm.
What if someone's in California using a VPN and the VPN locates them somewhere else?
Exactly.
You still have to comply to California law, even though their VPN is tricking your system to think you're not in California.
So like, that's just crazy. Like you're supposed to be psychic.
No, you're supposed to be an informed a business.
Well, if they have a different, like there's these location changers. People use those a lot too. So if let's just say I'm sitting in California on my computer, but I'm using a location changer and saying I'm in Georgia.
Mhm.
If any website that I go to sitting in California, even though my thing is telling them I'm in Georgia, they need to be compliant.
That's my understanding.
So then on that part, then that really wouldn't be good. The whole Iubenda thing wouldn't be.
You are relying on Iubenda to correctly identify where this person is.
Okay. Okay. All right. This is just.
So the operative phrase is if you're going to comply with these laws.
GDPR compliant. Okay.
You know, and even the California laws.
Yes.
I am not going to suggest anything other than compliance with the law.
Yes. Yes.
But that is up to you.
Yes. Okay.
I'm not your moral conscience nor your lawyer.
Yes. Okay.
I just think us web professionals are the best ones to be informed about it.
Yeah.
And inform our clients of the implications.
Okay.
They can make decisions based on what their attorney says. If you ask an attorney, they're going to say, you have to do it,
You
right?
have to do this. Yeah.
Because that's the attorney's job,
Yes.
mitigate risk.
Yeah.
But you can make an informed decision as a business owner if the risk is worth it.
Okay. Okay, I have to find that thing in Iubenda where it says to only show on the places that it's.
I will say one of the downfalls of Iubenda is is built by a bunch of lawyers, so everything is overly protective, and they will try to upsell you into features that maybe your business doesn't need.
Yeah, yeah.
I do use the privacy policy for GDPR compliance, and I do use the cookies for COPA compliance. Not COPA, anyway, the California one. And there are others. I have a client that does a lot of business in Europe, and I purchase all of the licenses for them.
Yeah, that would be if they were in Europe, that would then definitely consider.
And I had a conversation with the owner of that business, and I said, you know, I'm no lawyer, but I'm going to try to get you as compliant, but you as the business owner need to understand the rules, because I don't know what you're doing with leads. If someone contacts you, where does that go? Does someone write it on a notepad next to their desk?
Is that an
GDPR that needs to be accounted for, but I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I know, because I don't know. I guess I mean, it sounds to me like I didn't quite understand all of it as much as I thought I did, but it's much more clear now. Thank you.
Okay.
I think.
It's not. But I'm just trying to inform you.
Yes, yes.
You might be able to read between the lines, but I'm saying that you should comply.
Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Okay. All right.